Welcome back to One Breakthrough Now. If you've been following along, you know that last week in episode 7, we talked about the Sabbath strategy, how rest isn't just about stopping, it's about restoring the part of your brain responsible for vision and discernment. It's what keeps you from making hustle based decisions that really drain your creativity. And today, we're taking that restoration a step further. Because when your mind finally slows down enough to hear, you realize something very powerful. You were never meant to perform for people. We hear that all the time, but you really were created to partner with God. And this episode is called The Audience of One CEO. And it's for every entrepreneur who's ever hit publish, and then you go to check how many likes they got or question their worth when nobody commented, nobody opened their email, nobody clicked through. Hi, if you're new to me, my name is Raquel, and I'm your GPS for success. Let's get started.
Breakthrough.
When you first step out of corporate life or into your own calling, it's natural to want validation because we get that in the office, right? Feedback was currency. You knew whether your boss approved, whether your team respected your ideas. But in entrepreneurship, especially kingdom entrepreneurship, that external scoreboard, it disappears. You don't have a manager giving you a quarterly review or yearly one. You have moments of silence, and that tests your motives. And those moments are where Colossians 3:23 becomes more than a verse. It becomes a mindset. Paul wrote those words to believers who were learning to live free from the world's hierarchy. They weren't climbing a corporate ladder. They were learning to live by a kingdom order. He said, "Whatever you do, do it as unto the Lord." And that means the real CEO is not your client. It's not you. It's not the algorithm. It's not even your audience. It's the Lord Himself. And when you get that order right, it changes the entire architecture of your brain. Let's talk about why this is so freeing for you. Your brain's reward center. It lights up when you get likes, when you get hearts, when you get applause. It releases dopamine. It's the same neurochemical tied to pleasure and motivation. So, in the short term, yeah, it's going to feel amazing. But over time, it creates what psychologists call the external validation dependency. You start to chase the hit instead of the purpose. You post to be seen rather than serve. And the problem is that dopamine, the same one that's fueled by people's approval, that is unstable. It spikes and then it drops. And that drop can make you question your calling, your content, even your value. And that's why God invites us into a different system of reward, one based on faithfulness, not fanfare. And when you start doing your work unto the Lord, something incredible happens neurologically. Your prefrontal cortex, the decision making center we talked about in the last episode, episode 7, it stays engaged longer. You experience more focus, less anxiety, and higher creativity. You're no longer asking, did they like it? You start asking, was I obedient? And obedience, that releases a more sustainable form of dopamine. It's the kind tied to long term purpose and fulfillment. It's literally rewiring your brain to experience satisfaction from integrity, not approval. But let's be real, right? Even when we can mentally ascend to this truth, comparison likes to sneak in. You can look at someone else's launch, their followers, their income. You start to do your spiritual math, even if you have a coach. But comparison, it's a false calibration system. God doesn't measure progress in followers, He measures it in faithfulness. If you've ever scrolled through social media after posting something, you felt like God really led me to do this, to share this. And then you felt small because it didn't perform well. Hear me when I say this. The metrics of heaven are not the same as the metrics of men. In the kingdom, unseen obedience counts more than viral visibility. And when you create or you speak or you serve from that place, you start to build sustainable creativity. You're not trying to keep up with the trends. You're flowing with revelation. And that flow, that's what I like to call integrity driven innovation. The kind that doesn't burn you out because it's sourced in grace, not grind. In season one, during what I'm calling Rewire Reality, we talked about how our thoughts, right? They're the ones that create the pathways. Repetition forms the belief, and belief that forms the behavior. And even if you've been following along since then, here's where it all connects. When you replace approval seeking thoughts with assignment aligned thoughts, you start to rewire your default mode network. That's the part of your brain that filters identity. It's like your set point. And that means that you stop defaulting to what would they think? And you start defaulting to, but what did God say? And when that becomes your internal dialogue, you begin to experience what I call the audience of one flow, where your creativity is rooted in communion, not competition. So let's make this practical because I love making things practical. So imagine you have two entrepreneurs, they're starting out. So the first one, she's going to wake up, she's going to check her status, and she lets the numbers decide her mood. Her brain is learning to associate achievement with approval. The second one, she wakes up, she's asking God for strategy, she's showing up in obedience, regardless of how the numbers look. Her brain starts to learn to associate peace with partnership. The first girl, she will burn out chasing applause. But the other, she's building out of overflow. And it's not that metrics don't matter, they're just data, but they were never meant to be your mirror. When you learn to work from the audience of one, data becomes feedback, not identity. Now, that's just the foundation because once you get that internal wiring in place, there's another level of leadership that God begins to develop in you, especially for those who've already built something. If you're a seasoned entrepreneur or leader, you already know that visibility can multiply, yes, fact, but also pressure. So, in the next segment that's coming up, we're going to talk about how to maintain integrity when influence expands, how to lead publicly while still creating privately with God, and how to scale business that's faithful and fruitful without falling into the trap of performance. Because the truth is, leading for the audience of one, it doesn't make you smaller. It actually makes your impact eternal. So, if you've been battling the need to prove yourself, and I am not exempt from this message, today is your permission slip to just breathe. God's not grading your performance, He's developing your partnership. And the moment that you start creating from that place, everything changes. Your peace, your focus, yes, your profitability, and your ability to enjoy the work He gave you. So stay tuned. After this short break, we're going to dive into how seasoned CEOs and creative leaders can stay anchored in that same grace when visibility grows and pressure arises. because that is the truth that they don't tell you. And sometimes when you hear these things, you might be like thinking, well, I don't want to expand. I don't want even more pressure. But everything that you need to be successful, to live the purpose for which you've been created, is already inside you. And that is why God brought you here, to prepare you. He's never going to send you somewhere and not prepare you. And He prepares you also on the way. But He doesn't want you to go in being naive. He wants you to have that wisdom. But there's nothing to be scared of because the Lord is with you. And that's why you don't have to be afraid. The Lord is your shepherd, and you shall not lack. You shall not lack any good thing ever, because He is with you. And you have been prepared and designed and born for such a time as this. I'll see you on the other side of the
Thank you
short
for
break.
watching Prospera TV Network. We hope you're enjoying the show. We'll be right back after this commercial break.
Hi, my name is Jose Escobar, and I'm the founder and CEO of the Connected Leaders Academy. We're a growing tribe, a community of some of the highest level entrepreneurs, high performers, titans of industry all over the world. If you're an entrepreneur and you're looking to scale your business, take it to a whole nother level, the Connected Leaders Academy is your hub. You want to be a part of this tribe, and mainly for 5 reasons. To grow, personally and professionally. We all want to be better people. We all want to be better entrepreneurs. To scale your influence. We all want to have authority in our space, be the go-to person in our industry. Of course, move the needle in your business. What does that mean? More money, more clients, leads, referrals, endorsements, collaborations, it's all here. We want to develop our skill sets. We're all working on something. None of us have arrived. And of course, we want to grow our network and our circle exponentially with more intentionality, more ROI, and better results. The Connected Leaders Academy is now well over 350 members, paid members. We are in 42 states across the US and 17 international countries. We're talking about awesome places like Italy, Malta, Australia, UK, Hong Kong, Pakistan, India, Germany, France, South Africa, the list goes on. We have entrepreneurs from all different entrepreneurial backgrounds, real estate investors, insurance brokers, attorney offices, coaches, authors, speakers, trainers, publishing companies, martial arts school owners, social media gurus, branding experts, you name it. We have the best of all industries under one roof here. I welcome you to join the Connected Leaders Academy today. I want to invite you personally to set up a virtual coffee with me. How do you do that? Go to www.connectedleadersacademy.com. Again, connectedleadersacademy.com. Check out the website, click on the link to set up a virtual coffee with me directly, and I would love to have a conversation with you and explore the next steps on your journey here with the Connected Leaders Academy.
Yes to the whisper, yes to the call. We stand together, we rise, we stand tall. Every word we release, we set hearts free. Saying yes to the whisper, that's who we choose to be. It's not just about the fight, it's how we rise from it.
The future doesn't belong to the strongest. It belongs to the be-wired.
Now, before the break, we talked about what it means to build as unto the Lord, to shift from performing for people to partnering with God. That mindset is what keeps new entrepreneurs grounded when no one is clapping yet. But here's what seasoned leaders eventually discover: when the applause does come, it's just as dangerous, because if you're not careful, the same dopamine that once came from silence can start getting fed by the spotlight. And that's what the second half is about: how to stay grounded when your influence will grow, because it will grow. The moment you start getting recognition, a successful launch, podcast invites, stages, even consistent engagement, consistent cash, and your brain releases dopamine not just from approval, but from the anticipation of it. And that anticipation, that's where self sabotage actually creeps in. You start chasing validation loops instead of visionary ones. And here's the neuroscience: when you condition your nervous system to expect applause, there's a region in your brain that tracks social status, and that stays overstimulated. You can feel busy and productive, but it's actually anxiety disguised as ambition. And that's why seasoned CEOs and creatives, they must learn what I call the dopamine stewardship. It's the ability to redirect pleasure from performance to purpose. In other words, you train your brain to celebrate obedience, not outcome. The CEO who leads with reverence, not reaction. In the kingdom, CEO doesn't stand for chief executive officer, it stands for Christ's entrusted overseer. That's who you are. When you truly understand you're managing something that belongs to God, you're no longer leading from pressure, you're leading from presence. And that presence, it recalibrates everything about how you scale. You no longer hire out of fear of falling behind, but from discernment of timing. You no longer post to prove relevance, but to release revelation. You no longer chase partnerships, but steward alignments. And that's how you build something that lasts. Do you remember Joseph's blueprint that we talked about in episode 5? He led Egypt with such integrity that even in famine, he multiplied resources. And that's what happens when your leadership is rooted in reverence. Integrity becomes your innovation. You want to build systems that honor the secret place. So let's talk about business for a moment. Every entrepreneur wants scalable systems, automation, delegation, consistency. Yes, the consistency. But your systems, if they are scaling from ego, they're going to collapse under pressure. Eventually, it will happen. Sustainability only comes from alignment. Before you build another funnel, another automation, another post, ask, does this system honor the secret place? In neuroscience, repetition builds neural efficiency, and in business, repetition builds operational efficiency. But in the kingdom, repetition without revelation, that's what's actually leading you to burnout. That's why the Edge Lab exists. It's where science and spirit, they meet in real time. It's not about chasing trends, it's about mastering timing. Because when you're led by revelation, your marketing, it becomes ministry, and your business becomes a move of God. The entrepreneurs that I see thriving long term are those who've stopped striving for more visibility and they started listening for more instruction. They understand that their best business strategy is still obedience. This is where we learn to lead under pressure without losing peace. And maybe right now you're in that growth tension, right? You've built something real, the clients, the community, the cash flow, yet your peace, it feels inconsistent. It's not a sign of failure, beloved. It's a sign that your next level of leadership is requiring a new level of surrender. In neuroscience terms, you're upgrading your predictive coding system. That's how your brain forecasts safety and success. The old pattern sounds like, if people approve, I'm safe. My business is safe. But the new pattern is, if God approves, I'm stable. The first creates adrenaline driven decisions, but the second one, it creates peace driven authority. And that's why seasoned entrepreneurs, they often find that the most strategic thing that they can do is slow down. Just like the Sabbath strategy we talked about last week, stillness isn't laziness, it's leadership. You start hearing again. You make decisions that align with your eternal timeline, not your to do list. And from that place, you build differently from overflow, not overwhelm. When you lead for the audience of one, God becomes your marketing director, your strategist, your investor. The world tells us to expand by exposure and lots of it. But God says to expand by excellence. Excellence doesn't mean perfection, it means purity of motive. When you bring that into your team culture, your clients are going to feel it. When you bring that into your content, audiences sense it. And when you bring that into your finances, stewardship becomes this testimony. You stop building to impress and you start building to impact. And ironically, that's when your influence actually multiplies because heaven trusts you with it. And that's why I say that faithfulness, that's the new funnel. Because you can automate your marketing, but you can't automate your anointing. When you prioritize your anointing, God automates your reach. So, how can you practice the audience of one daily? Here's a simple rhythm, because I love that, to anchor with this. Number one, begin with reverence. Before meetings, launches, or decisions, ask, what's pleasing to you, God, in this? This activates this part of you that has the empathy and intuition center. It helps you to increase discernment. The second thing is to move with revelation. Pause before reacting. Let your nervous system settle, then decide. Revelation often comes in regulated stillness. Use the 90-second protocol that we talked about last week. And that's something that I had to learn because I have like the opposite, where if I get very excited, I can catch the vision very easily. And if it sounds like fun and it's kind of in alignment with what I want to do, what I've been asking for, my automatic almost reaction was yes, is still yes. But I've learned that I need to slow down, take a breath, and allow my emotions to come down. Because what happens is that when you have a high emotional state, whether a good feeling or a bad one, it works both ways. You have all these juicy chemicals from your brain rushing to your prefrontal cortex, and it drops your IQ, which is the speed of how you're processing data, 15 points. It doesn't sound like a lot, but now you're in a diminished capacity for thinking. So, what does that mean? That means literally you can't see the red flags. You can't see everything. You all of a sudden have tunnel vision. So, for me, I had to learn that when I get very excited, I need to pause. I need to like, let me think about this. Let me just give my body. And I've learned, right, this 90-second protocol. It takes 90 seconds for your body to kind of feel it and come out of you. And then after those 90 seconds, you're doing it to yourself. And we'll talk about that during the holidays. But for now, that's what's happening in your body. So you get this high emotional state. For me, it was just like, oh, that sounds like a lot of fun. I want to do it. Shut up and take my money. And when I did that, I ended up saying yes to things that were not in alignment. It wasn't like those things were evil or bad. It just wasn't the right time or the right thing for me. Right. And because it wasn't in alignment with what God wanted me to do, it didn't work out. But when I started to implement this, just wait, just 2 minutes, 90 seconds, take some breaths, allow myself to come back to my default, and then ask the question. All those choices, for the most part, we're right on point. The third thing, end with reflection. Don't just measure what you worked. Note what felt aligned, right? I had to practice doing that so I knew what it felt like when I was aligned. And that helps you. Over time, your brain, it learns to associate peace with productivity. This is the neural renewal that Paul speaks about in Romans 12:2, right? It's a daily rewiring that transforms not just your mindset, but actually your metabolism of success itself. There is a shift from performance to presence. And I remember somebody saying, you'll know you're healed from approval when silence, it doesn't scare you anymore. It changed the way I saw things because silence is not absence, it's an invitation. When you realize you're building from the audience of one, even in your quiet seasons, that becomes sacred. You begin to see low engagement. It's not rejection, it's just redirection. You recognize a hiddenness. Oftentimes, it's heaven's incubator. And that's where the Edge Lab and the Rewire Reality, that's where it was born, not in the noise, but in stillness. I want you to have real time guidance in order for you to be an audience of one leader. So if today's message resonated with you, if you're ready to build your business from revelation instead of reaction, then I want to personally invite you into one of the two spaces I have right now, which is the Edge Lab. And you can find out more at theedgelab.net. And that's where we bring neuroscience, strategy, and spirit together for kingdom entrepreneurs who are ready to expand without losing their peace. You're going to gain access to resources connected to this series that we're doing in the second season. And then coming soon, I have a custom GPT that's going to give you real time strategic feedback as you're building. And then the other thing is Rewire Reality, which you can find out more at rewireworkbook.com. And that's your foundational information for rewiring. It's pairing scripture, science, and daily reflection to help you renew your mind and reset your patterns. The Rewire GBT is being developed to give you 24/7 mindset coaching so that you can integrate what has been taught and you can do that every single day. The world is noisy, but heaven is specific. And if you can hear him in the quiet, you'll never get lost in the crowd. When you live and lead for the audience of one, your business becomes a sanctuary. Your work, it becomes worship. And your creativity becomes your communion. That's when impact is no longer about how many see you, but about how clearly they see him through you. Next week, we're stepping into episode 9, where we start the elevation arc. So, episodes 1 through 4, they were about the foundation, identity, and alignment. Episodes 5 through 8, they were centered around formation, right? Seasons and rhythms. And the last 4 episodes of this season is about elevation, mastery, and authority, starting with the entrepreneur's firewall. So until then, remember, you were never called to perform for the world. You were chosen to partner with heaven. And that partnership, that's your true profit. So until next time, may God's richest and best be yours. Bye for now.
This is your Prospera era, where dreams align with grace, abundance flows like rivers. You've stepped into your place. Rise, reign, and remember, you were born to shine. Welcome to your moment, Prospera, it's time.
We hope you enjoyed today's show on Prospera TV Network. Make it a point to visit us on YouTube and catch all your favorite shows anytime you want. Interested in hosting a show of your own? Or advertising your business on our network? Contact Elena Rodriguez,